So what would you, if you had to change one thing about this industry, right? You've been doing it for 12 years now. You've seen a lot. What would be one thing you wish you could change about our industry?
I wish that builders couldn't steer buyers to their preferred lender. I think that should be illegal. The other thing, I think, everybody says that they support work-life balance, but at the end of the day, you're getting calls nonstop at 7, 8, 9 p.m. I think that if everybody just kind of took a step back and said, hey, listen, this isn't heart surgery, this isn't life and death, he can respond to me at 9 a.m. tomorrow and we're still going to close on time, that would be refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's work-life balance.
Hey everybody, we're back for another episode of Fully Funded where we discuss all things health, wealth, and lifestyle. And today we've got an amazing segment where we're diving deep into the world of a successful loan officer. So we're going to do a whole segment on mortgage business. I'm here with my co-host, Christian Lopez. What's going on, my friend?
Oh, it's going great. Even with our fancy guest host here, not only is he a top loan originator, but do you know this guy's a legend in Leesburg, Florida? High school basketball legend, Caleb Corsair.
You got like a jersey on the wall and stuff?
Not yet, but
in his parents' house.
You think they're going to call you in and want to do like a retiring of the jersey?
It took the Magic a while to retire Shaq's jersey, so anything's possible.
There's still
so
time.
You're just waiting for the phone call to come in every day.
Unlikely, but maybe.
So how does a guy like you end up playing high school basketball in Leesburg, Florida? You're from what, Indiana originally?
Yeah, originally from Indiana. Moved down to Florida when I was about 10, but I've been hooping since I was like 3.
Still today?
A little bit. The knees aren't what they used to be. But
you need a lot of ice baths after every game?
Yeah, some ibuprofen, but I still get buckets.
Yeah, but so then the question is, how do you go from Leesburg, Florida basketball legend to mortgage legend, aka the loan ninja?
Yeah, I kind of peaked in high school and all downhill after that.
I don't know how to take that.
Compliment. But you know the story. So yeah, I was working in Leesburg.
We want you to tell it to us.
I know. I was going to expound on it. But yeah, I was working in Leesburg, and Leesburg was Leesburg, so that got a little bit old. And then I knew you and your brother, and you offered me an opportunity back in the days of HARP refinances, pounding the phones from my cubicle, getting a lot of angry people telling me to stop calling them, but that's how I got my feet wet.
Yeah, no LTV financing for
totally upside down, no equity. Those were the days.
What was your official start date in the business?
What was it, about 12 years ago?
It was, I think it was like the first week of May 2012.
Yeah, so almost 12 years. It's like when you've been married forever, like you don't remember the date. You're like, it's been a long time.
It's just kind of
sorry,
a
Lisa.
after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
That's terrible.
Well, let's talk about that, because a lot of people get into, whether it's mortgages or just any sort of sales related industry, it's a big challenge, right? Especially financially. You had a good job up there. You kind of left that. You were commuting. Tell us a little bit about how you overcome some of the challenges, but then how you're able to get through it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I mean, pretty much any sales position in this industry, it's commission-based. So like you said, there is kind of that leap of faith. So I would say the biggest thing is making sure that you're with the right organization, because if you're with the wrong company and you're not producing, you have no money coming in. So I had trust in the organization that you guys had built, and you had a good game plan for me, and came in with a little bit of savings to hold me over for those 6 to 9 months where the paychecks hadn't started to roll in yet. And then we hit the ground running.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that you have the savings. Some people don't have savings, but was there ever a time in there where you're just like, maybe you got hit with like a curveball and you're thinking, man, maybe I should have just go back to that office job I had?
I think being a loan originator, you have those moments weekly. So there's still times, I've been doing it for over a decade. It's like, is it worth it? It's tough. It's challenging. There's a new scenario every day. A lot of stress. There's a lot on the line for the buyers, the sellers. But, at the end of the day, the satisfaction that you get seeing somebody achieve their goals, it's priceless.
You said weekly. I say daily.
That's
last night I was calling Christian. I was in a fetal position. Hey, man, I don't know if I could do this anymore, but it's a regular occurrence.
It happens to all of us, right? the buyers, they see everything run smoothly, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of fires that they never know about.
But it surely is an adrenaline rush. I mean, I know when I was in full-time loan origination, it was a roller coaster, and it was like 1 second you want to jump off the building, but the next second you literally get such a high.
Yep.
And there's so many great things about being in the business, not just only helping people, but the personal accomplishments you can have internally when you're in sales. You know, you're always pushing yourself to strive for better. When you hit those things, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know it's like we're asking like the bad, right? Because I think you have to talk about that. Like nobody just hits that peak of their career and it's like everything was great, like no obstacles whatsoever, everything's perfect. What would you say for you as an originator is probably the hardest part of your daily job?
I would say the hardest part is never knowing what that day will bring. So it's like Zach said, you can wake up and like you cleared out your inbox, everything's great. And then you have 5-6 fires going on all at once. You know, there's a closing issue, there's a processing issue, the buyer's gone rogue. You just never know what you're going to get into. So that and the job can be demanding. Some days you'll have to work 12, 13-hour days if you want to keep up. It's not a 9-to-5 job, and a lot of people, they're not really ready for that when they sign up for it.
So how did you prepare? Like, I don't know if you thought about that when you first started here way back 12 years ago, but I don't think it quite was like that. So when the job became that, how did you work through that? Like, how do you get through those days?
Yeah. So I think you have to have mental toughness in this business. And, you know, that's something that I feel some people have or they don't have. But then also you can kind of build that a little bit too. So, you know, I like to listen to my motivational videos. That kind of feeds my mind with positive thoughts when I'm a little bit down. But I mean, my thing is like whenever I do something, I want to be the best at it. So like I wasn't the most gifted basketball player, but I would practice a lot. And that's how eventually I was at least solid. And so same thing with loans. I mean, you know, I dedicate myself to the craft. And then I'm willing to outwork anybody. If I have to work a 14-hour day to get done, that's what I'm going to do.
I always find that sometimes you also have to laugh at things, right? So like you've done thousands of transactions in your career. Tell us, is there any time you look back and you're like there's always that key moment where you just look back and like, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this actually happened to me.
Yeah, without disclosing any names.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's keep the names out.
Yeah. So I closed a transaction for a buyer probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And then I got an email out of the blue. And the guy was like, "Hey, man, how's it going? Hope you're doing well." Like, started off super cordial. And then he's like, "So you won't believe it, but my mother-in-law burned the house down to the ground, collected the insurance on it. I'm suing her. I'm suing the title company. Like, everybody's going down. But hope you have a great Christmas." I was like, all right, that was the weirdest email I've ever gotten. I didn't want to dive too deep into what actually happened, but apparently
Did you reply to it?
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, man, sorry that happened.
Do you want me to pre-qualify you for the next loan?
It sounds like you need a new house. Let's go."
Did you get another loan through you?
I was afraid to touch that one, so I just wished him all the best. Didn't hear back.
Well, that was like the guy who he like called one day. He's like, "Hey, I lost my job. Do you have anything to help?" I'm like, "Dude, like your loan's been sold. There's not much. Like call a servicer, maybe get some deference." And then like 6 months later, we get a notice from the insurance company that they wrote a check out because he burned his house down.
Oof, man.
So nosy me, I go on Google, I type in his name and the city where he was from, and it turns out that he left his stove on when he went to Walmart, and his house caught on fire. When the fire department went to put out the house, they found he was growing marijuana in his house. And so the first thing that came up was his mugshot.
Oh my goodness. Dang. If you're going to torture your own house, like, get the weed out of it.
Probably. Well, I don't think he was planning to torture his own house.
You think the firefighters got high?
Could you imagine? They all come out, they're like, "Get some food." But the big part of your job, you would say, is getting people qualified to purchase a home.
Yeah. I think some people, they overcomplicate the process. When you boil it down, it's pretty easy. Do you want to buy a house? Yes. Fill out a loan application. Are you pre-approved? Are you qualified? No. If not, let's work on it. If you are, let's get you with a good real estate agent, get you under contract.
Right.
Within 30 days, you'll be in your house.
But is it always cut and dry?
No, unfortunately, it's not. So, you know, there's a million different scenarios, especially after COVID. Like, people are doing 1099 jobs. They've switched jobs 5 times in the last 2 years. There's always something. So I think that's where experience is invaluable. You know, if you've seen a loan scenario 50 times, you're going to be better equipped than somebody who's never seen it.
What would you say is like one of the more crazy scenarios that have hit your desk?
That's a good one. There's a lot of them. It's hard to think of just one off the top.
All right, putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
There's so many. I just had this lady we were supposed to close last week, and the seller was like, "Oh, I haven't made my mortgage payment for 2 months, so now like I owe all these back payments and everything." So they're like selling the house, and they just stopped making the payments, and now it doesn't close, and now the buyer needs to come up with more money. There's just like crazy things people don't think. I've pre-qualified people before where they've had $50,000-$60,000 in the bank, and I pull their credit, and they haven't made a car payment in 3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you just get this money as a gift or something? Like, oh, no. My husband and I, we made a promise that we're not going to touch any of the money for the house. So times are a little bit tight, and we just decided that it was better to not make the car payment and just not touch the money for the down payment for the house. And I'm like, hello?
Yeah. I actually have one closing tomorrow, and the lady told me that she had all the money ready to go. We get under contract, and then like 2 weeks later, she's like, well, actually, I don't have the money. I'm waiting on my tax refund. And I was like, do you know when you're getting your tax refund? She's like, probably soon. I was like, call your accountant and find out when your money's coming. She got the money like 2 days before closing. It just barely hit. And things like that happen all the time. Even if you do your due diligence up front, you know, the buyers don't always disclose exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Or they'll get the tax refund, then they'll go on a cruise, and then they'll come back and be like, well, I have to live my life.
You got to live your life.
You know,
That's a true story.
the reality of it is that choosing your loan officer and your real estate team is so important, right? And I see people all the time, you know, in this industry maybe pick people because they like them or they're friends with them. They want to give their friends some business. But you know, it's like having to get a surgery because you're sick or something, and you're like, oh, my friend's a doctor, I'm gonna go to them, but they've only been practicing for a year. The doctor that's been practicing for 12 years, like you said, is going to see thousands of different scenarios and be able to diagnose that. And when things do happen and they do come up, which they always do, you need somebody who's experienced to know that scenario and how to solve that. And that just goes to the same reason as to why some people are under contract for 30, 45 days, get a loan denial, and then they come over to us where we're more experienced and we close them in 5 days because we just know how to set it up better.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Everybody thinks of a mortgage as something that's black and white. What's my interest rate? What's my fees? They don't know that they need a top-notch professional until it's too late in a lot of cases. There's so many nuances, and just being partners with the right people up front, it saves so many potential headaches.
So what would you, if you had to change one thing about this industry, right? You've been doing it for 12 years now. You've seen a lot. What would be one thing you wish you could change about our industry?
I wish that builders couldn't steer buyers to their preferred lender. I think that should be illegal. The other thing, I think, you know, everybody says that they support work-life balance, but at the end of the day, you're getting calls nonstop at 7, 8, 9 p.m. I think that if everybody just kind of took a step back and said, hey, listen, this isn't heart surgery, this isn't life and death, you know, he can respond to me at 9 a.m. tomorrow and we're still going to close on time, that would be refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's work-life balance is, they define it differently. Right. Some define it 9 to 5, some define it, 12 to 9.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody just wants people to work within their own time frame.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that really takes its toll on loan officers. When I first started, I was always like, man, why are these guys that have been doing it 30 years, why are they so bitter and angry? And then after doing it for like 5 or 6 years, I'm like, I get it. Like, it's nonstop stresses. You're being, like, there's no off days. You know, you can take a cruise, you can be in another country, your phone's still blown up nonstop. And you can have the best team working with you, and they'll handle some of those things. But at the end of the day, people want you. And you always have to respond. And that can take its toll if you don't know how to manage it.
Right.
So talking about team and, being in the business for a long time and having different perspective, from your vantage point, for those, maybe it's a loan officer watching this that is looking to make a move or maybe looking to get in the industry, you've stayed in the broker world for the last 12 years. I've been in the broker world now for 17 years in March. You've been in the broker world for 17, 18 years as well. Like, why do you stay in the broker world opposed to retail? I know that we all get recruited on a daily basis. What is kind of the advantages of being a broker versus a retail lender?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think that it's obvious that the way that our industry is moving, brokers are the future. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, scenarios are more complicated now, more than ever before, and brokers have access to so many different loan programs. So I've been doing bank statement loans, DSCRs, all these out-of-the-box loans that most retail shops don't offer. And so having access to that full portfolio of options, it makes a huge difference. And, there's a lot of flexibility in our business.
And people try to get you to switch over.
Yeah. An unnamed company offered me a huge sign-on bonus during COVID, and it was a little bit tempting.
Me
but-
too. We should have both taken it, retired, and then just kinda,
Exactly.
like,
Put in
went
our
off,
24 months.
hung out on the beach
Then I would have
somewhere.
been sitting here by myself interviewing nobody.
You would have jumped ship too.
Well, let's. That's the what if, right? What about the toys that they sent you? Didn't they? It was in like week.
Oh, yeah. One company sent me a gift.
Toys, huh?
They were good toys, though. they were like drones.
Yeah.
Anyways, I won't go into details, but they sent me nice gifts every week for like 2 months. And then finally, they sent me like a miniature kitchen sink, and they're like, "We've thrown everything except the kitchen sink at you. What will it take for you to sign up with us?"
That's pretty badass.
It was pretty cool, but I never responded. If I got a lot of free gifts.
I mean, it was worth.
Are
the
they all
effort.
like sitting on a windowsill somewhere, like pushing figures over there?
I
reminding you?
re-gifted most of them.
Oh, that's cute. So, what is one thing like early on in your career as a loan officer that maybe you did, and then you changed that thing to help you improve to become a better loan officer?
Yeah. I think when I first started, I was kind of set in my ways, which I still am to a certain extent.
I was about to say what changed.
Listen, I've embraced change over the years, and like initially, I'll always fight things. But like initially, for instance, I fought online loan applications. I would do all loan applications over.
Let's
the
get
phone.
into that conversation. I defended the online loan app
You
at
did,
all
you
costs
did.
last
I was like,
week.
let's go. But something like that helped me scale my business, 3, 4, 5 times what it would have been if I were doing 45-minute phone calls with every client. So bank statement loans, that's something that 5 years ago I would have never touched. And then I did it. It's not that bad. So I would say being more open to new options and suggestions, I would have done that sooner in my career.
We call that at Home1st listening to Christian. Just
Well, sometimes he's right, sometimes he's not.
So take us through a typical day as a loan officer. What does your day look like?
Yeah, so normally I'll get up like 6:30, work out, get my mind right.
Okay.
Get my mind right, get my grind tight, like the teen says.
Okay.
Clean out my inbox first thing. So usually when you wake up, you have 100, 150 emails, but half of them are spam and garbage. So clean that out.
Can you describe inbox zero for us, talking about emails, why that's so important in business?
Inbox zero, I'm a huge advocate of this, and hardly anybody does it. It drives me crazy. At the end of every day, there's not one day that I don't have an email that I didn't respond to or that I didn't file away.
You don't snooze it?
I
ever
don't
use
do
the
that.
snooze feature?
I don't do that.
I love the snooze feature.
I mean, I guess in a way I do.
especially when they're Christian's emails.
Well, in a way, I guess I do, because I'll send a quick response and say, "Hey, message received. I'll get on this as quickly as possible." So I guess
Okay,
that's it.
awesome.
Yeah, but my thing, inbox zero, like you should be able to tackle all your emails in the day, no matter how busy you are. When I was doing over 200 loans a year, I still lived by inbox zero, and it was tough. Some days I'd have to work 13-hour days to get to that. But the peace of mind going to bed knowing that you responded to everybody, to me, that's priceless.
and to be clear, it's not just like I read all my emails.
No, that's how most people do it. Like I see their inbox and they have like 300 emails. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I know what's going on. There's no way you know what's going on with all of those. Like, file it away, have folders.
So is that like a quirky habit of yours, like to file it, or is that what all business professionals should be doing?
I'm kind of OCD about it, but I truly believe it helps tremendously.
Yeah.
Like I'm so organized. I never miss an email. Whenever somebody's like, Caleb, I emailed you and you didn't respond, I'll instantly say, no, you didn't, or it got caught up in your outbacks, because I'm that positive that I responded to it because of my system. I have folders in my main inbox. That's where anything that I haven't gotten to is still at.
Yeah. When we look at top producers in any industry, we all look at people and their success, and we always say, man, like that person has always been successful, or they were an overnight success. Was there an overnight success moment for you where something clicked and you just kind of rose to the top? Or what were some of those kind of things that you did, or what was that turning point in your business where things really took off for you?
Yeah. So what's the saying? I'm an overnight success, 10 years in the making. I firmly believe in that. You aren't going to have instant success in this business. You may very temporarily, but it's not going to be lasting. And so you have to build that foundation. And that's something that I did. The first 5 or 6 years of my business, I was just mastering my craft, learning guidelines, bothering Christian, bothering underwriters, anybody that would listen to me, networking, finding the right professionals. And then, 5, 6, 7 years in, the market heated up. I had all of those connections and then kind of exploded. So everybody's like, oh man, where'd this loan ninja come from? But it's like, I was there.
Yeah.
I was just doing the legwork.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So the what?
The lone
The lone ninja.
I thought you were gonna say something about his legs or something here when he said leg
pretty
work.
good.
I thought you were like,
Well, that's for the second part.
yeah, like chicken legs or something. So listen, I'd love to see you be a little bit vulnerable for a moment. You don't work hard for free, right? You're not in this business for charity. You want to help a lot of people, of course, but you want to make something out of yourself. So at what point in your career did you wake up and be like, man, I made it? Like what happened when you had that moment? Or have you had that moment?
Still grinding. No, yeah, thankfully I have gotten there. I would say it gets to a point in your life where you don't have to worry about finances at all. And to me, that's huge. My wife has been able to retire for the last 3 or 4 years. She hasn't had to work, and we don't have to worry about her going back to work. So when you reach that financial freedom, it's not a flex. It's just something that we've all worked very hard to achieve. But when you don't have to worry about, man, am I going to be able to pay my mortgage this month or 6 months from now?
Yeah.
Like I would say that was kind of the turning point.
All right. Awesome. Love that. So when you had some of your biggest years, you earlier talked about when you were doing consistently over 200 loans a year, what were you saying? What would you look back and say some of the activities that are needed? So you're a loan officer, you're watching this, you're building your business, you're getting market share, you're anticipating rates dropping, and then your position. What are some of the activities that you should be doing to make sure that you can really scale up to 15 to 20 deals a month?
Yeah. So as a loan originator, being present is huge. So like if you follow me on Instagram, like I'll post some silly stories, post videos of Coda. But at the end of the day, it's so that people see that and they're like, oh, hey, there's Caleb. If you don't post anything for a month and you expect somebody to send you business, like out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. So I would say that's one of the biggest things is just being present. And then doing whatever you can for your partners is huge. Offering to do an open house with them. We might not love doing that, but to them, that might be a huge differentiator for them. So just always being available. And then once you get those opportunities, don't fumble the bag. Make sure you do whatever it takes to get that loan closed and make them look like a rock star.
That's awesome. And a lot of people, I think, in business forget about their past clients. We spend so much time and energy focusing on getting after the new business. We don't focus a lot on our past clients. What do you do to stay in front of your past clients to ensure repeat referral business?
Yeah, so automating that is huge. So as you know, we have drip campaigns that go out and it touches them every 6 to 12 months minimum to say, hey, checking in, happy home anniversary, all that good stuff to stay in front of them. But then also I'll kind of monitor where they closed at with the interest rate, where rates are currently at. And if they're even close to being able to refinance, I'll touch base and say, hey, we're not quite there yet, but within the next 3-6 months, rates will probably drop enough and then we'll refinance. That way you're on their radar and not respond to some random lender who reaches out.
So if you were to give yourself one piece of advice, for what you know now, what would you have told old Caleb?
I probably would have focused on my past database more, to be honest.
All right, love that.
Those years that I was doing those 200 plus loans, I did like 2 refinances. I did hardly any refinances. I was just caught up just trying to keep up with purchases. But if I'd built out the systems or tried to somehow touch base with those past clients, that probably would have led to a lot more loans.
Right, more than you've already done as it is, because it seems like an impressive number, right?
Yeah.
But that's it is awesome, and you should be commended for that, because when you're operating in the top 1%, it takes a lot of work to get there. But even with that, there's still some difficulties along the way. So, like, what kind of advice would you give yourself? And we've talked about a few things, so if you want to repeat one of those things, it's fine. But like, what type of advice would you give yourself to help Caleb avoid some of the difficulties he's had to run into?
Yeah, for advice to Caleb, I would say try not to sweat the small stuff. And you know me, I sweat the small stuff way too much, and I've gotten better.
How many keyboards have you had in your life?
I've only broken a couple keyboards, a couple of headsets, but I saw Ryan had a giant hole in his drywall, so I've never punched a hole in my drywall yet. So I'm definitely better than him when it comes to anger management. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do at the end of the day, and like we're our own biggest critics, and we expect greatness from ourselves, which makes us good, but it also takes its toll on us and on our family. So I would say just try to remember, at the end of the day, it is a job. You're doing all that you can, and there's only so much you can do.
Things usually look way bigger in the windshield than they do in the rear view mirror.
Exactly. Yeah, I try to live by the 5x5 rule. If it's not going to matter 5 years from now, don't waste more than 5 minutes stressing on it. And sometimes that's hard to remember when
I like to cut that down to 5 days.
That's true too. Yeah.
But even so, I mean, I think the point is still the same. It's like if it's there's things that we probably, if we look back, go 5 days ago, and we're like, man, I can't believe I spent so much time and energy on just responding to this 5-word message, and then you get the response and it's okay.
Yep.
And then 5 days later, you're not even thinking about it anymore. But you spend so much time stressing about it in that moment, and that's for everybody. That's not what
That's called being a good person.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's true.
you still, but then you're kind of invalidating my point. But no,
You have to manage it.
you have to manage it better, right? Yeah. It's not to say like not caring about what you're saying to somebody, but the whole point is that you can't stress and ruin your life, because stress has a direct effect on your health.
Exactly.
So if you're in a high stress business and you're allowing all those things to take over, it'll shorten a lot of careers.
Yeah, and even within the business, like that trickles down to your other clients and your other interactions with real estate agents and title agents, and it's really not fair to them. So you kind of have to detach emotionally in some cases.
But you have mastered the passive aggressive email responses, though.
What, can you explain? Let's get to know about this.
I hope you deleted those.
I save everything. No.
Okay, good. I need an example. Come on.
I mean,
What's a
sometimes-
passive aggressive email?
Well, they were pretty long and they were pretty condescending, but I stopped doing that. I'm a good person now.
You know, title company's like, hey, we're waiting on the lender for the package, and be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, you are waiting on this for the package. Yeah, we sent it 3 days ago. You responded about an hour ago, and then called the 3. So yeah, for the last 30 minutes, you've been waiting on the lender, but not for the last 4 days. We've been waiting you for it. So we'll get working on this, and we'll look forward to a successful close.
There's usually a specific type of title company, I'm sorry, who does that. And they usually have an attorney as their name of the title company. Classic. And I was teaching a class yesterday. I was telling my agents, I'm like, just because you get a clear close and then the listing agent calls you and says, your lender sucks, they haven't sent out the package, the first thing I want you to do is ask them, are they in the process of balancing? They just say the craziest
No
thing.
lie. Every time it's like, okay, the package is out there. We're looking to balance. They'll finally send it.
We haven't heard from them. We haven't
Then
gotten the
they'll call
package. We're like,
every day.
we've been talking every 5 minutes over the balancing.
Title companies will throw you under the bus
Why?
so quickly. I don't know.
We don't have a package.
I know.
Dude, it happened to me. I was with the guy, and like I know the guy, and it's like instinctual for them. And he gets on the phone, and then he starts saying how to blame the lender for the issue. And I looked at him, and I was like, Did that really just happen? Like, could you wait for me to walk out of the room before you tell me the tactic?
No shame.
No shame.
I
whatsoever.
need this package 48 hours before. No excuses.
Yeah, I know. Why? It takes you 3 minutes to print it. Why do you
But,
need it
with all the bad, we got to talk about the good in this industry. And right is the fact of the matter is that real estate's difficult. We all have to work together as a team. We're all trying to achieve the same goal, which is close.
And I think that's the key is like, listen, we get it. You have your time frame for doing things. We have our time frame for doing things. So let's just communicate and figure out a solution here. We're trying to get you clear to close, but what you don't see is that the appraisal came back with repairs. They took 2 weeks to make the repairs. Then they want us to close 2 days afterwards. And then we're rushing to get it done because we're trying, we're really caring about the buyer in the situation.
Yeah.
So it's not the buyer's fault that all these delays have happened, but then we're the ones usually getting yelled at the end.
Welcome to Fully Funded, where we have live therapy sessions with real life loan officers to talk about the pitfalls of our industry.
We'll keep it lighter. Give us a. I'm actually be vulnerable here for a moment.
Again.
Yeah.
Right.
Give us something embarrassing that you went through. You look back at your career, you're like, I cannot believe that I made that mistake.
I mean, I've messed up on guidelines a lot of times. So like I've pre-approved buyers and then you get under contract and they're like, oh, you missed this guideline. You're gonna have to quadruple your down payment. So I remember one time I had a buyer doing like 3.5% down and I didn't realize she was on the loan with somebody not related to her. And it changed the guideline. She had to do 25% down. So it went from like $7,000 to like $50,000. But thankfully I called her and she's like, oh yeah, we got money. But sometimes it doesn't go that way. So, and that's where gaining that experience really helps you because there's a lot of guidelines and every lender can be a little bit different. So the more experience that you have, the more that you know what to look out for in the future to not
Just because they have an 800 credit score and they're putting 20% down doesn't mean you just issue a pre-approval letter, because if you don't look at the line item that they pay $800 a month in child support on their paycheck, the deal could get denied very quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
This happens to me.
Sounds like recently. Yeah, the more legwork you can do up front, the less likely you are to run into issues.
Christian's like, Zach, what is wrong with this 1003?
Everything.
Well, Caleb knew that from his first 3 years. Like, nope, kick it back, fix that.
Exactly.
You mentioned, we talked earlier about like the whole work-life balance and that being a main struggle. What are some of the things besides the email, keeping clean inbox, that you have been able to do to kind of create a little more semblance of this work-life balance that a lot of people talk about?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is having the right team. So, my loan partner, my processor, they're absolutely top notch, and they take a lot of stresses off of my plate, which helps tremendously. And you have to leverage your team. For a long time, I was a one-man show. I would clear conditions, I would do the loan admin work. But when I finally learned to trust others to do those things, that's when you can 10x your business.
Yeah.
So that's another change that I would make earlier on. Find the right team and then learn to trust that team.
What about like shutting it off? Like, do you know what that's like? I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. That's one thing. I honestly don't think I'll ever change it, and that's what a lot of buyers and real estate agents love about me. They can text me at 9:30 and I'll respond by 9:32. But I mean, to me, there's a risk and reward for everything. And so for me, I'm more stressed if I wake up and I didn't respond to those texts and emails at between 6 and 9, and then I have an extra 50 people to respond to.
Have you ever had to turn down business because you're in a moment where I can't work today, or I can't work at this hour?
No, I truly haven't. I have turned down business where I was just too busy. And so, if I had 28 loans in process and somebody came to me with a DSCR loan, I would politely say, hey, I'm not able to give them the time and attention that they need, but here's Patrick or Arthur. They'll be glad to help you out.
Well, there goes that team thing again, right? Because that's still staying in your ecosystem.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll make sure that they're serviced no matter what. Other than that, sometimes personalities don't clash. Sometimes people are incredibly demanding and they have unrealistic expectations. And, we provide a very high level of service. And if that's not what they're looking for, then they might be better suited elsewhere.
I think the work-life balance thing is very difficult to achieve in our industry, but I think a modern loan officer knows how to integrate integrate their business into their life, right? From being able to understand that you could pick up and go anywhere as long as you have a good computer and a cell phone that has service that works, right? You can live your life and service people properly. Also leveraging technology where, hey, like, you don't have to carry your computer around, because if you have the right software, which we do, you could print a pre-approval letter out right from your phone. Agents are like literally blown away. Like, can I have an updated pre-approval letter? And I text them the PDF in 3 seconds because our origination system lets you download it on your phone. So like, just being available, I say this all the time, that we are thought, like, most of us think we live in an instant gratification society, where in reality we live in I just want to be heard now society. So if you could figure out as a loan officer how to make yourself available when you're not always available, but just we're a text message away. Like, it's 2024. We're scrolling through our phone 24/7. We could take 3 seconds to respond to a text and be like, yeah, send me the client over. Half the time the client doesn't even respond right away anyways.
Yeah.
Just go on about your day.
Exactly.
As a more personal, but like sometimes I'll test Caleb and I'll have 3 different conversations with him over 3 platforms. I have like an Instagram convo going, a Slack convo going, and it's like,
I was like, why are you doing this? Just text me.
I'm just like trying to see, because it's different in my mind. It's like, no, we're talking about work here, personal here.
Yeah, I like that.
But I mean, like, at some point, you have to go to bed, right? Or you have to have your me time. And like, you think about like a machine, like a car that has got a big engine, and you can't just like turn it on and go, and you can't just turn it off and be done with it.
Yeah.
So like, what do you normally do at like an end of a day or like on a weekend to allow yourself to at least wind down to the point of enjoying your personal life?
Yeah. So I would say like after 9 p.m. and before 7 a.m., I don't feel inclined to have to respond to anybody. If I do, great, but that's kind of the time that I can decompress, have my me time, and then I'll get back to it. So I do set boundaries. They're probably just later and earlier than most people do. But I have a little bit of time that I unwind.
Do you have any rituals? Like, what do you do to unwind?
I work out.
Okay.
Probably can't tell, but 4 or 5 days a week I work out. Go on walks with Coda.
You can take your shirt off and we can figure this out.
All right,
Let's do this.
Or
dues paid. Dues paid.
Or I can show that photo from when you first started with us.
Ooh, man, I've grown a lot.
I think if Aaron gets a copy of that, it'll be on the screen.
Yeah. Let's keep that between us, please.
So, we talked about a lot of things, and I think one of the, the reason why we're talking to you, right, is because you've accomplished so much in, let's say, a 12-year period, but really you were accomplishing it years ago. It wasn't like, okay, now at 12 years you're doing it. But I think it's important for a lot of people to hear your story and to understand it, because no one is dealing with these issues by themselves. So, you know, a couple of things that I really appreciated, right, is how to balance your day. Because a work-life balance is not, okay, work is this hours a days and my life is this hours a days, but like keeping the inbox zero, keep customer service, understanding guidelines, not just being a paper pusher LO, right? That's what banks do. Understanding guidelines, all that goes to longevity in the industry. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing a lot of that stuff with us. I know Zach has a few he wants to share.
Yeah,
as well.
no, I just love the perspective in terms of just the transparency of what it takes to be successful in this business. I think a lot of loan officers coming in, they just think they could work from 9 to 5 and be successful. You're like, listen, you want to be successful, these are the things that you have to do. And if that means answering your phone at 9 o'clock at night or being available being one of them and not sugarcoating it, I could certainly appreciate about it.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of recap, I think if you're not with the right team, no matter how good you are, you're not going to find massive success in this business. So Home1st has allowed me to grow to the level that I'm at, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But then the other thing too is everybody says, I'm going to grind, I'm going to kill it. And then you see them super active on social for 3 months. They're working 10-hour days. And then what happens? They always fall off. So you have to be committed to it for however long it takes. And most people don't have that.
Awesome. Man. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us and taking out of that busy day to
get back to
us. If you are a loan originator out there, maybe either in the retail world or looking to get into the business, and you need those guidance and the steps, please reach out to Zachary or myself, and you can follow as @LoanNinja on Instagram for his funny videos and a lot of videos of Coda, which is his dog, not his child. We'll put that out there. But please like, subscribe, share your story with us, whether it's in origination or sales. We'd love to hear from you and some of the things that you guys have found successful.
Awesome, guys. See you on another episode of Fully Funded. Peace out.